Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you are all good. So today we will be discussing about cell. Okay? Cell. So the first question that comes in our mind is that who discovered cell? Yes, the famous scientist Robert Hooke. So he is the one who has discovered cell. Okay? So this is an important point. Everyone should know it. Okay, fine. Now, if we see cell in a normal microscope, okay, in a normal microscope, what it was found that in the cell just there was a nucleus, and around the nucleus there was a fluid matrix. Okay, so this fluid matrix is known as cytoplasm, and the center part, the center organelle, is known as the nucleus. So this was the basic structure of the cell when it has been found in the normal microscope. Okay, but when the advanced microscope has come, okay, it has found much more things inside the cells, like the organelles, we can say, that is the mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum. It has two types, smooth and rough. Then Golgi apparatus, then lysosomes, ribosomes, some secretory vesicles, okay, and the nucleus we have already discussed. Okay, these are some cell organelles which have been found later on with the advanced level microscope. In a simple microscope, only the cytoplasm and the nucleus was been found out, and the outer covering of this cell is known as the plasma membrane. Okay, so what we got to learn? The outer covering is the plasma membrane, the inner fluid matrix is the cytoplasm, and the central part is the nucleus. And again, inside the cell there are many organelles which are the mitochondria, smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, ribosomes, secretory vesicles. Okay, fine. Now let's discuss the substances required in the cell. Okay, substances required in cells. Okay, fine. So the first substance is the fats. Okay, so these fats comprises of two types. One is the nutrient fats. Nutrient fats. That means fats which is required for the energy. Okay, generally fats are stored form of energy by which whenever the body is required it can grabs it from there. So in a nutshell we can say this is a stored form of energy. Of energy. And generally this fat is stored in the fat cells. Okay, Fine. And the second category of the fat is the membranous fats. Okay, membranous fats. So in the membranous fats, we have phospholipids, sphingolipids, and the third one is the cholesterol. So this membranous fat. So we are talking about the plasma membrane of the cell. Okay, this plasma membrane of the cell is composed of fats, mainly phospholipids, followed by sphingolipids, and lastly the cholesterol. Okay, so if we see the plasma membrane, how it looks like this. This. Okay, so these heads are generally hydrophilic. Okay, and the tails are hydrophobic. Okay, that means the outer part and the inner part are hydrophilic. So the outside of the plasma membrane, we can say it as extracellular. And the inner side of the plasma membrane, we can say as intracellular. Okay, fine. It's clear. It's just simple. There is nothing much more about it. Okay. Now, sphingolipids. Sphingolipids generally it is found in the nerve cell, mainly nerve cells. Okay, and the function is protect against from harmful environments. Okay, then cell adherence. Okay, so these are some functions of sphingolipids. Mainly, cell membrane is composed of phospholipids. Sphingolipids mainly found in the nerve cells, and it has some different functions. Okay, protects against the harmful environment and helps in cell adherence. Okay, talking about cholesterol mainly it is embedded in the middle layer. That means if we see the membrane, okay, just roughly, this cholesterol is embedded in this middle layer. Okay, and this cholesterol's function is to determine the degree of permeability or impermeability for the water soluble substance. Okay, that means to how much extent the water soluble substance can penetrate the plasma membrane. Okay, so that evaluation is done by the cholesterol. Okay, fine. That means if the cholesterol is more, that water soluble substance can't be embedded inside. And if the quantity is little bit less of the cholesterol, then the water soluble substance can penetrate to some extent. Okay, so in a nutshell, cholesterol determines the degree of the permeability. How much extent the water soluble substance can be permeable to the plasma membrane. Okay. Now we have discussed fats. Then comes proteins. Proteins. Okay. So proteins are also been categorized into structural proteins, functional proteins, integral proteins, again the last peripheral proteins. Now in structural protein, generally it gives the cytoskeleton. Okay, provides cytoskeleton to cellular parts like cilia, nerve axons, mitotic spindles. Okay, the main function is to provide cytoskeleton to these cellular parts, cilia, nerve axons, mitotic spindles, and these structural proteins are like filamentous in structure. Okay, like thread-like structure. Okay, like this thread-like structure, and this thread-like structure forms microtubules. Microtubules which provide cytoskeleton. Okay, fine. Filamentous. So the structural protein provides cytoskeleton to cellular parts, and the structural protein is filamentous in structure, which forms microtubules and gives the integrity of the cells to maintain the shape. Okay. Moreover, there are some tangled form of microfilaments. Tangled form of filaments. Tangled form of microfilaments which holds the part of the cytoplasm and the nucleoplasm in their respective compartment. Okay, holds part of cytoplasm and plasm their respective compartments. Okay, these are the tangled form of microfilaments which holds parts of cytoplasm and nucleoplasm in their respective compartment. So ultimately, it gives the integration of the shape of the cell. These structural proteins. The name itself signifies that structure of a cell. Okay, fine. Now functional proteins. Functional proteins are nothing but enzymes. Okay, we all know enzymes. It's a catalyst to our biochemical reactions. So functional proteins are nothing but enzymes. Okay, integral proteins. Integral proteins, if we see the diagram, like if this is a cell membrane, okay, these integral proteins from the extracellular to the middle layer and extending to the inner portion of the cell. It comes like this. That means from the outside extracellular to the middle layer and to the inner portion of the cell, it is located. Transmembrane protein, we can say. That means from the outer side towards the inner side, followed by the middle layer. Okay, fine. So this integral protein, protein, this integral protein serves as channels. Channels in the sense it allows some water soluble substance, because water soluble substance can't cross the plasma membrane because it is lipid soluble. Although the outer side is the water soluble, but the middle portion is the lipid soluble. So ultimately it will repel the water soluble substances. It will not allow to pass from the plasma membrane the water soluble substance. Okay, so in order to allow those water soluble substance, this integral proteins helps. This acts like a channel so that the water soluble substance can enter into the inner portion of the cell. Okay, channels allows water soluble substances to enter into cell. Okay. Secondly, it can act as receptors, where ligand will act on the receptors and show the effect. Okay. Third, it can act as a transporter, like any molecules need to be actively carried out from one side of the membrane to the other side, then these integral proteins can act as a transporter to help those particular substances for transportation. Okay, so these are some points where integral protein can act: channels, receptors, transporters. Okay, fine. Now this peripheral protein. This peripheral protein is nothing, if you see in the diagram, it gets attached with the, sorry, it gets attached with the integral protein in both sides of the membrane, either extracellularly or intracellularly. Okay, these are peripheral proteins. Okay, so these proteins are nothing. These are getting integrated with the integral proteins, and it also acts like an enzymes. And somewhat helps in the adherence adherence to other cells. Okay, fine. So we have discussed proteins overall: structural proteins, functional proteins, integral proteins, peripheral proteins. Okay, so the last portion that is remained is the carbohydrates. carbohydrates. Similarly, like fats, carbohydrates can act as nutrients because we know carbohydrates, the glucose serves as the energy for the cell. The ATP production takes place. Okay, so it provides energy. And the second is the membrane carbohydrates. Okay, membrane carbohydrates. So this nutrient carbohydrates we can say is the glucose, which provides energy to cells. Okay, stored form is the glycogen. When there is deprivation of the glucose, from the stored glycogen gets converted into glucose, and from there the cell gets the energy. Okay. Now membrane carbohydrates. Generally, these carbohydrates get integrated with proteins, lipids. Okay. So we can say it as glyco for carbs and proteins getting integrated with proteins. Okay. Then glyco, that is carbohydrates, getting integrated with lipids. Okay. Glyco plus proteins, glyco plus lipids. So these carbohydrates gets integrated with either proteins or lipids in the plasma membrane. Okay, fine. And these membrane carbohydrates serves as some functions. Okay. Firstly, it can act as a receptors also. It can act as adherents to other cells. Like that particular carbohydrate moiety will get attached with the other carbohydrate moiety of the other cell, by which the cell gets joined. Okay. Secondly, take part in these membrane carbohydrates take part in immune reactions. Take part in immune reactions. Okay, fine. So these are some points. These are some functions of the membrane carbohydrates. Okay. More one point. These membrane carbohydrates are negatively charged. Okay. So it overall provides the negative charge to the plasma membrane. Okay. Fine. So these are some points of membrane carbohydrates. Two types of carbohydrates, that is the nutrient, that is the glucose, which provides energy to the cells, and the carbohydrates, which is embedded in the membrane. And these membrane carbohydrates are getting integrated with either proteins or lipids. And it can act as a receptor also. It can have adherence to other cells by joining one carbohydrate moiety of the one cell with other carbohydrate moiety of the other cells. And this carbohydrate moiety can take part in the immune reactions also. And this carbohydrate moiety, membrane carbohydrate, have a negatively charge. Okay, fine. So this is all about the cell, and in this video we have only discussed about the components, and especially the plasma membrane. Okay, in the next video we will be discussing the specific cell organelles. This cell organelles one by one. Okay. So I hope you like this video, and if you have any doubt, any query, you can ask me. You can put the doubts in the comments. I will definitely try to sort out. Okay. Fine. Thank you.